there, welcome to Craft Central Designs. Today I have for you 3 very cute Easter tabletop decor pieces created with the crafting woods from the Dollar Tree, ribbons, trims, scrapbook papers, and various other embellishments. I am loving these, and I hope you do as well. And as always, I love when you message me and tell me you feel inspired to create them for your Easter decor space, or for a gift, or for even to sell at craft shows. Welcome to all to my channel today. If you're not currently a subscriber, I hope you will consider becoming one, and I hope you feel inspired to become one. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the tutorial, and share my channel with others. This really helps my channel to grow. And as always, I love receiving your comments and interacting with my subscribers and my viewers. Okay, let's get creating these very cute Easter decor pieces. We have the Farmhouse Rustic Bunny and a very elegant Easter egg made with beautiful scrapbook papers. And of course, we have the carrot, which is also very farmhouse rustic-y, and they all turned out so cute. So I'm very anxious to share them with you. Okay, so we're going to start off with the carrot. Love doing this carrot. Every year I do something with this carrot. It comes out at the Dollar Tree every year. Now, I have seen these. I actually stopped in a few different Dollar Trees because I wanted to see if the woods are readily available, at least in my area, and hoping that my area was, pretty similar to your area. And everyone has these crafting woods. So I'm going to use the carrot, and I have there orange paint and the green, the same green as the polka dot, which is going to be the leaves of the carrot. So you're going to need a piece of scrapbook paper for the leaves. You could choose whatever you like, a gingham check, a plain paper, a polka dot, a tiny polka dot, a larger polka dot, whatever you like. I have 2 ribbons here from craftoutlet.com. Both of them are carrot ribbons, and boy, do they look great paired up, as you can see. 1.5-inch wired ribbons. Love craftoutlet.com's ribbons. Now, I also have there an orange jute twine. Now, I wish I could remember where I got that because I've had it for so long. But it could have been Hobby Lobby. If not, anything like that, put in a search on Amazon. You can find anything on Amazon. So I'm going to begin by cutting out the leaves, the greenery, the leaves that go on the top of the carrot. And I'm going to just trace around that with a sharp pencil. And I'm going to do that before I paint it. And I'm going to do the front and the back. Now I'm just simply going to be using Mod Podge to adhere these to the carrot. Now what I'm doing here is just going around and cleaning up any pencil marks that I may have, left on that scrapbook paper. And that's very easy to do. So now I have my green paint. So what I did was I just tried to match the green on my scrapbook paper as closely as I could. And I think I did a pretty good job of doing that. And I'm just going to paint around the all the sides of the carrot area, as well as a little bit on the front side and the back side. And I do this just in case my scrapbook paper doesn't quite perfectly reach the edges. That way I have the paint on there, and you won't be able to tell much if I have the green paint as well. So I'm going to do the bottom of the carrot now with an orange paint. I did 2 coats, by the way, on that green, just so I would have a nice, rich green color. Now I'm going to go around my carrot, and I'm going to do the sides, the front, and the back. The reason why is I'm going to be wrapping this with an orange jute twine, just in case you can see through the jute twine in any area. That orange paint will be under there, and so that will, still create a nice finish. Now I'm going to go ahead and make my bow because, of course, my carrot has to have a very cute bow. And I'm going to use my typical method that I create bows, and I just fold over my loops, pinch it in the center, holding it firmly with my thumb and my index finger on my left hand, and I form my loops with my right hand. Now my loops are about 4.5 to 5 inches in length, and I'm going to have this bow have 4 loops with around a 4-inch tail. Now this is going to be the base of my bow, and then I'm going to put my other carrot ribbon on top of that with another bow. I wrap a 26 gauge wire around the center, pull it very tightly, scrunch up the center of my ribbon, and then I cut off my tail at around the same 4 inches, and I will be angling my tails. Now we have the base bow for my carrot. Angle the tails. Okay, now I'm going to create my top layer of my bow. Now you're going to see later that I did add a little something in between the loops of the bow. Now, I didn't show you that in the intro, but I used sisal or sisal grass. I'm not really sure how you say that, but you could also use raffia or excelsior. And I did that in the natural color. So now I'm creating another bow, but my loops are going to be only around 4 inches so that you'll still be able to see that bottom bow once I place that bow in my hand there on top. So I'm creating another 4-loop bow in the same manner. And I'm going to wrap that with the 26 gauge wire. Pull it tight in the center to scrunch it up. And then I'm going to place a single loop going right down the center of that bow. Twist that. And then I'm just going to take my wire cutters and cut off that wire on the back. After I get done creating this center loop, which I just roll that under, create a loop, take my wire from the back side, poke it through, pull it around to the back, and twist. Now this bow is going to also have a 4-inch tail. Now, because I created that center loop there, I do have one of my tails is over the top there. And I'm just going to take that tail, poke it right through the center loop. Now, if you'd like to learn to make these bows like I do, I have multiple tutorials. And I do that in a slow, methodical manner so that you can learn to create bows like I do if you would like to. So check out my playlist. I have multiple tutorials. Okay, so now I'm going to take that bow and pop it right on the top of my base bow. Another piece of 26 gauge wire. I'm going to pop that right through the center of that loop, bring it around the back, and twist. Now I do use my needle nose pliers sometimes. I don't know if I just did it there. I don't recall. I looked away. That's what happens when you do that. But sometimes I use my needle nose pliers to squash my bows together in the center. I don't think I did it on this one, but you will see me do it on my other bows that I do today on this tutorial. So there's my pretty little carrot bow. Oh my goodness, is that not pretty on that piece? I make the tails angled. As I mentioned before, I would certainly not dovetail this. This is not a type of bow I feel on this piece that should be dovetailed, but if you prefer to do that, you go right ahead. Okay, so now I am going to put some Mod Podge on my greenery area here. Nice even coat all the way out to the edges, and I'm just going to let that dry. And I'm going to be using the my mini Cricut heat press to apply that scrapbook paper once that's all dry. Doing the back side as well. I like to keep my Mod Podge in a squirt bottle, as you can see there. Now I have my mini Cricut heat press all heated up. And I'm going to place my polka dot greenery on there, matching everything up edge to edge. Taking care of a little pencil mark there, I see. And I'm going to use a piece of parchment paper on top of that scrapbook paper, and I'm just going to press that. Now you could use an iron if you don't have a mini Cricut heat press. Just don't use steam in the iron. Now, some would say that you could use a glue stick for this. I prefer this method. It's just a beautiful, flawless application every time. So I really appreciate that. So that's the way I do mine. And we did the front and the back. Now I'm going to do one more thing with the leafy area of my carrot. Such a nice orange color, right? So pretty. It's going to get even cuter here in just a minute when we start wrapping the carrot with that jute cord. Now I am going to use hot glue for this. Now, if you use jute cord and you're using hot glue, you know that you don't want to get it obvious around your jute cord because it's very difficult to pick it off. And so you're going to want to be very careful on this part to just drag the tip of your glue gun across your piece and just barely squeeze the trigger of your glue gun. This is going to give you just a scant amount of hot glue, and that way you don't have to have that glue oozing around your jute cord. Now I'm going to be applying the hot glue wherever I feel that I really need it on this carrot in order to wrap this the way that I want to. And the way that I want to is to put a solid layer of wrapping around this entire carrot. Nice and straight, going all the way across. So I found it helpful to place little dabs of glue more so on the sides of the carrot than across the actual body of the carrot. So I did put a little stream of glue right there at the neck of the carrot. Does a carrot have a neck? Yeah, I'm not really sure about that, but it just looks like a neck to me. So yeah, you could see that I'm using a little bits of little tiny stream of glue there to hold that. Once I start wrapping the body of the carrot, I find that I can just pretty much put a dab of glue on the sides. But going around that rounded area there and that neck of the carrot, as I'm calling it, I did use a little bit more glue in that area. Now this orange jute cord is very nice to work with, and I found it very easy to wrap this carrot with that cord. So I'm just going along, and as I do this, as I wrap, I am paying attention to whether I have it straight on the carrot. Now, after I get this all wrapped, all the way down to the very bottom of the carrot, I finish the wrapping, and then you're going to see me do a crisscross design on the carrot. And I think this really added a lot of something to this carrot. Really, really cute. Wait till you see. So I'm probably showing you a little bit more of this than I needed to, but just to get you started in the process, I wanted to show you that. I make sure as I go along, especially right at this point and all the way down the carrot, to make sure that it's straight. I didn't want to look at my carrot after I was all done and see that it was, going sideways, if you will. So I was very mindful to watch what I was doing while I was wrapping this. And I think the texture of this jute cord wrapped around this carrot was so pretty for this piece. Now, you don't have to use jute cord. Of course, you could use a scrapbook paper. You could use some type of fabric. You could use a burlap if you could find it. You could find a orange burlap. I think they have it at Hobby Lobby, but I think it might be a little bit on the peachy side rather than the orange side. So, check that out before you decide to purchase that. Okay, now see, I have it all wrapped. It looks really great, right? Looks really great, just like that. But I'm going to do something additional here. I'm going to take a piece of jute cord. I'm going to push it right down into the cords on the back side. And watch, I'm just going to crisscross and create a design across it. Love the effect of this on this carrot. Tell me what you think. So I'm just wrapping it around. Now I did take it all the way down to the bottom, and then I secured it at the bottom on the back side. And then I did, in a couple of areas, I did put a little dab of glue under a couple of the areas where I crisscrossed that jute cord. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? I really love the way that turned out. This carrot is very handsome. Can a carrot be handsome? Okay. So in my world, I guess it can. All right. So this is the sisal grass. I just clumped together a few pieces, like 4. And I lifted up the loops of my top bow, and I pushed that all the way down into the base of the bow under those loops, and I glued it on. But I didn't do it quite yet. As you can see, I'm just making sure everything looks just perfect. And you can see here, I found a couple of areas where I wanted to just secure the little crisscrosses there. Oh, okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my distressing ink. This is in the color Vintage Photo. And I have these little finger daubers. They have like a little sponge on the end. And I'm going to dip it or dab it into that pad. And I'm just going to go around and dab it all around the edges of my green area of my carrot. And this really added a really nice definition to the edges of the greenery of my carrot. Now, I don't want an excessive amount, just a tiny little bit, just dabbed on right on the edges. Now, I did this on the front as well as the back. On these pieces, I always try and give as much finish to the back of the piece as possible. Of course, every piece has a front side, which is always going to be where the bow is. But finishing up the back side as much as possible. I always do that. So, yes, I will go around the back side and do the edges of the greenery as well with that dauber. And I really love what this did for this piece. Okay, so now I'm going to put my bow on. And I did put my sisal grass in there. I just lifted up the loops, put a dab of glue right down at the base of where the loops start, and I just popped that in there. Now, you could use Excelsior or Raffia, or you could use nothing at all. That's completely up to you. I love the effect of this. It kind of gives it a little whimsy look, and a little bit more of a farmhouse rustic look as well. Now, I made sure that I had my bow on there nice and secure. I did put a dab of glue underneath the loops on my base bow. And now I'm just trimming up those little ends there. And I am absolutely in love with this piece. Tell me what you think of this one in the comments. And like I said, you can use raffia on this as well, or Excelsior. It's in a natural color, and it just really adds something to it. It adds another texture and a little bit of visual interest. So yeah, I really, really like that addition to this piece. Finishing my trimming, and now we are going to move right on to the bunny. Okay, so I'm going to use this standing bunny. It has nice long ears. It's from the Dollar Tree, but you don't have to necessarily use this bunny if you can't find it. I'll show you an alternative to that. This is the Hobby Lobby bunny, a little bit more difficult to work with because of that area under the ears, but it definitely would suffice for this particular project that we're going to do. That's the other bunny, adorable, really cute. Now, if you choose that bunny or the one from Hobby Lobby, you won't be able to put the carrot in the hand like I'm going to do on this one that's standing, but you could put it at the feet of the bunny and just kind of glue it to the front of the bunny. That would work as well. Now, I just had so much trouble finding a paint in my, as much paint as I have, I just could not find anything that really matched that burlap very well. But I found really awesome solutions for that problem. And you'll be seeing me do that. I'm going to be completely wrapping the sides of my bunny with a buted, did you hear what I just said? A beautiful, oh God, where did that come from? Yeah, buted. I meant to say a beautiful jute ribbon. So we'll talk about that later. Yeah. Okay, so I showed you some bunny tails there. Those are from the Dollar Tree. Going to use my mini Cricut heat press again, Mod Podge as well. And I'm going to use that pretty burlap fabric, and that's from Walmart. And I love it because it has those embroidered splotches on it. It's also a tight weave burlap fabric. Now, if you use more of an open weave, just be sure that you paint your bunny so that if you can see through that open weave on your burlap fabric, you know, it's a reasonably close paint match to the burlap fabric, if that makes sense. Now I have those little tiny buttons. Again, I'm going to use those for the eyes. And this is the carrots. Now I picked these up at Home Goods last year. And I couldn't get those in my cart fast enough. I love them so much. They're kind of like a velvet carrot, and they have great greenery on the top. However, if you do not and cannot find anything like that, use the Dollar Tree carrot, but I'm going to urge you to dress that carrot up. If you have the orange twine from creating the carrot, you can give that carrot a complete makeover by wrapping it with that orange twine, pulling that greenery out on the top, and adding another type of greenery on the top of that carrot. And you can give that carrot a complete makeover and make it look more high-end. All right, I'm going to take this burlap fabric. Again, this is from Walmart. It's in the section where all the florals are, and it comes on a roll. Now, I've used this before, and I've actually put it on bunnies before. And I know from previous experience to place that rabbit on there strategically so that I do not have a white splotch in the area where I want to place the button for the eye. So I'm very careful in how I place that bunny on there. And I started tracing it out with a pencil, and that just did not cut it. So I used a Sharpie, and I'm just going to go around that bunny and trace that out and cut it out with my scissors. Now I'm going to, of course, cover the front and the back. So be careful how you cut it out so that you have the side of the fabric that you want to use and that you have it cut out correctly. so it will sit correct on your bunny. Now, I did a mixture of that paint, and as you can see, it really doesn't match the burlap. But I'm going to take care of that because otherwise that will bug me. So I'm going to go ahead and put my fabric, my burlap fabric, on my bunny. But I'm going to do it a section at a time because that burlap fabric really likes to roll and curl. So it's not going to sit on that bunny as nicely as scrap of paper would. So I'm going to do one section at a time. I'm going to start off with the ears and the head. Make sure I have that on correctly. Then I'm going to move, down the bunny and do its, a section at a time. And I'm going to do this for both sides. Now I'm doing the actual little face or the part of the head. And I just keep checking to make sure I have it on there as straight as possible. Now, after all was said and done, and I had it on there, it wasn't absolutely perfect on the edges, even though I tried and I tried to get it that way. But I have a great solution for this. I'm going to trim this out with a very narrow braided jute cord. But you don't even necessarily have to have the same braided jute cord. I'm going to show it to you here in just a bit. But you could trim it out on the edges with a nice jute twine, and that will accomplish the very same thing. So as you can see, I'm working my way down the bunny, trying to get that on there as best I can. See how I have to keep making adjustments there. So be patient on this part. And again, don't worry if it's not absolutely perfectly out to the edges throughout the entire bunny. Don't worry about it because you can correct this with the trimming around the edges with either the braided cord or just a simple plain jute twine cord. Now I'll show you all this, in just a bit, but I'm just kind of prefacing what's coming up here. Okay, so you see I have my fabric on there just right because now I can put that eye on there without having the white. That's happened to me before where I had, tried to put that black eye on there and instead I have this white splotch. So, just be careful of that if you use this burlap fabric, which, by the way, I think is so cute for this bunny, really. And so easy to find that at Walmart. They always have it. Okay, so I'm going to take some Aleene's Tacky glue, and I'm going to put my little button eye on there with my crafting tweezers. I do put that on the front and the back. Now, as you can see there, you can see a little bit of the edge where that fabric did not fit perfectly on that bunny. And like I said, that's okay because I'm going to show you how to fix that. Okay, so I'm going to create a bow, of course, for the bunny. Now I have this ribbon that's curled up there on the table. That's from Michael's. And that ribbon is about 5/8 inch. And I absolutely love it. Again, it's from Michael's, but I have seen it as well on Amazon. And I'm going to create a 4-loop bow with my figure 8 method of creating bows. And I want to say my loops are around 4 inches, 4.5 inches, something like that. And I'm going to leave a 4-inch tail. I'm going to take my 26 gauge wire. I'm going to wrap it around the center and squeeze it really, really tight. So I scrunch up the center of that bow and twist. This is going to be my base bow that's going to go on the neck of my bunny. Love this ribbon because it has a tendency to curl, and I love that. It's kind of a jute, kind of sort of cross between jute and nylon. I don't know how to describe it other than that, but okay, so for my second layer of my bow, I'm going to use this very small burlap colored gingham check. It's a very narrow ribbon, And I'm going to create another 4-loop bow using my figure 8 method. And this is going to be layer number 2 of my bow. Again, leaving a tail, wrapping it with my 26 gauge wire. Now, as you can see, I am bundled up there because, yeah, it has been so cold. And I know it's been like crazy cold in other parts of the country, but we Floridians are not used to 40-degree weather. So I am wrapped up. It's early morning while I'm crafting this bunny. And you can see, yeah, I'm snugly warm now. Okay, so I have a little bit left of this ribbon from Walmart. Oh my gosh, I hate to see it go because I love it so much. But it has this beautiful little scallops on the edging of the ribbon. Oh, it's so pretty. And this is a little bit wider than that gingham check, that ribbon. I'm just going to create a 2-loop bow on this one. Wrap my wire around, pull it tightly, scrunch it up, and twist. Now, I'm going to place a button in the center of this bow. I love to do that on Farmhouse kind of rustic pieces that I do. I will be angling my tails as I typically do. And I'm going to stack those bows upon one another. And then I decided on using the heart button. But the other button I think would have been super cute too. I really debated on which one I was going to use. Now I'm just going to use some hot glue to stack my bows, matching the centers up perfectly, opening up the loops to receive the next layer bow, which is going to be the white. And this ribbon looks so pretty popped on the top of there with the scallops. Oh, it's so pretty. I hope I can find more of it. Oh, I'm going to miss it. I get very attached to my ribbons. Yeah, I really like to have things on hand that are extraordinary, like that particular ribbon. Okay, so I thought about that button because I think that button would have looked really good as well. But I ultimately decided on the heart. And I'm going to place that on there, not perfectly straight, but a little bit tilted, as I typically do. And then I'm going to angle the tails of my bow. I'm just snipping off the wire on the back of there. Now that's going to go right on the neck of the bunny, angled a little bit off toward the back. Now, I went ahead and I put the bow on. Why? I don't know. Because, I should know better, being that I've done so many of these pieces. But maybe I was a little over anxious because I was in love with that pretty bow. But I do still have to wrap the sides. But really, honestly, it was no problem. I was still able to do that very efficiently. So I'm just trimming up my tails with a little bit of an angle there. Notice I do leave tails on it. I just love the look of that. Trailing down the bunny, but also trailing off to the back. All right, so it was really bugging me that I could see the edges around the fabric. So what you're going to see me do is trim that area out. Now, the first thing I'm going to do before I do the trimming around the bunny on the front side, I'm going to go ahead and place this. It's a kind of a jute ribbon, I guess you could call it. And that's from Michael's. Now, this ribbon, I believe, is around 1/2 inch. Yeah, it's a 1/2 inch. And I'm going to start at the bottom, but remember, I never put ribbon on the very bottom of these pieces because it just may affect its ability to stand up on its own. So I'm going to go ahead and put this right down the center of the sides of my bunny, and I do use my spatula to push in any areas where there's a bend or a crease in that bunny. So I went ahead and I put that all around the bunny, all around the edge. or the outside edge of that bunny, right down the center. And again, just dragging the tip of my glue gun across so I don't get a glob of glue showing underneath the ribbon or oozing out the sides. They're very, very scant amount. Okay, so I have that all the way around. So now what I'm going to do is take care of the edges. I'm going to completely trim out on the front side and the back side my bunny on the front and the back of the piece. Now, I have this braided cord. It's very narrow. It's only about 1/8 of an inch thick. Now, where did I get this braided cord? I think I may have gotten it at Hobby Lobby. I've had it for quite some time, not absolutely sure. But I'm sure that if you can't find it at a craft store, you should be able to find it, I'm sure, on Amazon. Now, I was worried about, was this going to be a tedious task? Was it going to be difficult to trim this out? And I was pleasantly surprised because it was so easy. This braided cord was so easy to work with. It conformed beautifully to all the curves of that bunny. And look how finished that looks now. Now, again, if you don't have any braided cord, if you can't find the braided cord, use a nice jute twine. This will work just as well. And it will really finish and, edging out that the perimeter of that bunny. And oh boy, this really, really turns out nice. Again, be careful how much glue you're using. Keep it very mild on your piece. Going around the ears was even easy, which I didn't think it would be, but it really was. See how that braided cord is so compliant. And it also did not take that long. Look how nice that looks. And it did not take that long to do that. So I did the front and the back. So it's finished on the front and back. All right, now I looked at the sides, and on each side of that kind of jute nylon or that cord that I put, or that jute ribbon, let's call it jute ribbon. On each side of that, I could see the paint, and I didn't want to do that. But I realized that my braided cord fit beautifully right down inside between the braided cord on the front and back and that little area. Now I'm going to fill in both sides just like that. And oh boy, did this look really nice. Yes, a little bit of extra work, but honestly, it went so quickly. And again, just use jute twine if you don't have that braided cord. See how finished and beautiful that looks? Yeah, this is one of the most finished bunnies I think I've ever done, where I really completely covered the sides, the front and the back, and trimmed it out. But I have to say, this has got to be one of my favorites. The extra effort was so worth it. Okay, so now I have this stand-up bunny, so I can actually put my carrot in the bunny's hands, and I kind of put it sideways, and it's going to rest right in the hands of my bunny. And I'm just going to hot glue that on. I'm trimming up a little bit of the greenery on this carrot because I didn't want it to cover the eye of the bunny once I put it on there. Yeah, these carrots are awesome, but again, you can always find those carrots at the Dollar Tree, but, they need a makeover for sure. So if you can wrap them, that would be great if you have an orange jute cord. You could also wrap them with that orange and white baker's twine. That would be cute as well. And then pull that greenery out of the top. It's just really, like I said, they need a makeover. And then just, see what kind of greenery you have on hand that you can just pop in the top. Just hot glue your greenery into the top of your carrot that you make over, the Dollar Tree one. Okay, now, this bunny needs a tail. So I love these bunny tails from the Dollar Tree. Now, you have to be careful when you're working with these because they will fall apart. But if you keep it intact and glue it on right away, you can keep it completely intact. I'm going to just give you a little tip here to help you with that as well. So I put a little bit of glue right down the center of the tail, and I pop that on right away. And then I kind of squish it to get the fibers of that tail. I'm not really sure what that's made of. It's kind of like a batting, kind of. I'm not sure. Now I'm going to go around the rest of the tail on the top, the sides, and the bottom of the tail. And I'm going to put a stream of glue, and then I'm just going to press that tail right into the glue. I'm going to go on the bottom and do that now. And then as well on the top and on the sides. Now see how you can lift it up, put a dab of glue there, and then press it into the glue. And this white tail on here just really, it really takes it up a level. So I also kind of separated the fibers and popped some hot glue down in there and then pressed it so it, just like that. And just pressed my fingers. The glue's down inside of there, so I'm not burning myself. Now, the last but not least thing that you can do to keep this tail intact is give it a light spray of hairspray. Another thing you could do is take like a sponge dauber and put a little bit of Mod Podge on there and just dab it around the tail. And that will also help if you don't want to use hairspray. Yeah, so look how cute this is. But I'm not done yet. I'm going to put a bow, a little twine bow actually, on the carrot. Now, I thought about using a polka dot. I thought about using a baker's twine. I thought about using the gingham check. But ultimately, I decided to take a piece of, this was a perfect size jute twine, by the way, to use as trim. I think I picked that up at Hobby Lobby. Pretty sure. But I'm going to create a 4-loop little twine bow with my figure 8 method of creating. And I'm going to leave tails on there because that jute twine has a curl to it, and I really like that. So I'm going to take a piece of wire, wrap it around the center. Now you may be thinking, really? You're going to put a bow on the carrot? I sure am. And it was such a cute touch. Okay, so I'm going to wrap that wire around, twist it, and then I'm going to take another little piece of that jute twine, and I'm just going to wrap the center because I just cannot have a bow without a finished center. So, little piece of that twine, I'm going to put a little dab of glue on the back side, wrap it 3 times after I cut off the wire there. Wrap it 3 times. I can't talk today. Oh my goodness. And then just secure it on the back. And then I'm going to glue that right to the top of the carrot. I did put an eye on the back side. I don't think I showed you that, but yeah. I try and finish the back side as much as possible. But obviously, this bunny has a front side, as do all of these wood pieces that I create from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to snip off that excess and glue that to the carrot. And oh my, this is a cute bunny. Has to be one of my favorites. that I've ever done on these wood crafting pieces from the Dollar Tree. Very cute. I do leave the curl. See how that twine has a curl to it? Yeah, that is super cute. And this is really, really, really cute. Okay, next we're going to do another egg. Now, typically, every season, every Easter decorating season, I like to do at least one really pretty, elegant looking egg. You can do this in whatever type of scrapbook paper that you like. You could use a napkin, you could use a fabric, but I want to do mine in this gorgeous scrapbook paper from the Paper Mart section at Hobby Lobby. This scrapbook paper is absolutely exquisite. And I'm showing you all the different patterns. This is a nice heavy scrapbook paper. And I'm going to use 2 of those patterns. I'm going to create an egg with 3 sections. I started off thinking I was going to do 3 different sections with 3 different papers, but then I changed my mind midway through the project, and I'll explain why later. Now, this is a gorgeous, oh my goodness, what a beautiful trim this is. I think I got this on Temu, and I got those pretty embellishments. One of them is going to go in the center of the bow. You see them on the table there? They're like pins. I got those on Temu as well. Like once or twice a year, I will go on Temu because they have some really fun materials to use for crafting that you don't really find other places. And I do like a nice big order. And that was included in that particular order. I'm going to use this 2-inch wide, very pretty satin ribbon for a bow on the top of my egg. I'm going to paint the sides, and I'm also going to put a trim on the sides. Now, I have this antique white and a white, and I'm going to lighten up that antique white by mixing a little bit of the white in there to kind of try to match that off-white in the scrapbook paper. I'm going to be using my Fiskars paper cutter. Love, love this, but you don't have to have this in order to do this project. You can simply use a ruler and a pencil and scissors. But since I have it, I'm certainly going to use it. Now, these are the papers that I decided on. A little difficult to see with the ring light shadow, light on that shiny paper. But I didn't end up using one of those because you have to pay very close attention to the pattern on your scrapbook papers when you're creating the sections of your egg. And I discovered that the one paper that I thought I was going to use, the pattern was just a little bit too big. So I used my heat gun and removed that sticker on the back like I always do. And I'm going to start by creating my center section. And I always do it this way because I want to create the center section first. So I lay my egg right on there, and approximately I am going to determine how I'm going to cut out this center section. So I take a pencil and I draw around that area that I think is as wide as I want it to be on that egg. So I did that, but now I need to connect those lines. So I'm going to use a ruler, and I'm just going to draw a straight line to connect that. And then I'm going to simply cut that out with my scissors. Now I did end up deciding that I wanted this a little bit less long on the center section, and that's okay because I would rather start out with a bigger piece and then be able to trim that down if I decide the center is too thick or too big or too wide. So in fact, that's exactly what I did. But, that's trial and error. You might, once you put that piece on your egg, you might think that's a little bit too long, and I did, or wide, however you want to look at it. So I decided to cut off a bit of that, and I used my ruler, I guess, but it was very easy to do that because that paper has a very distinct line that goes horizontally across it. So I was able to cut that very easily. So again, trying it out. What am I doing there? Turning it upside down. Yeah. So I put my piece on there and I decided, a little bit more off of there. And again, it's trial and error. And again, because that paper has a really nice horizontal pattern to it, I was able to do that very easily. Now you can use, as I mentioned, any scrapbook paper that you like. But this egg seems to be really suited for doing, different sections. It's very easy to do this if you just follow the method that I'm showing you. Okay, so here's my other one that I'm going to use. And this one has a little bit of a smaller horizontal pattern. So I decided to go with that. So see what I'm doing here. I'm placing my egg right on the line where my center piece starts. And I just trace around it. And now I'm going to have a perfect top for my egg. It's going to sit right over that center section that I just created. Now, I did show you this on my previous video, so this, if you've already seen this, you could just forward over this a little bit. And I'm just trimming that up a little bit and making sure I don't have any pencil lines. And look, that fits like a glove. Oh my goodness. Now, I am going to be taking some of that gorgeous gold trim and putting it right across those seam lines. So don't worry about the seam lines because I would suggest that you always use some kind of trim to go across your seams if you're going to do an egg with sections. Now, this can be any kind of trim. It can be a ribbon. It could be a rickrack. Rickrack comes in very narrow rickrack all the way up to bigger. So, you could do any kind of trim. You could use a beaded trim. You could use a little sequin trim. You could do a line of pearls. It's just so many possibilities to cover up that seam. Okay, so now I'm going to do that bottom section by placing the egg and lining it up with the bottom of that center section. And I'm very careful on this part, very precise. Use my pencil, draw it out, making sure that I'm just cutting that out exactly the way I want it to lie on that egg. I have all three of my pieces. Now I'm going to cover the back with the remainder of that scrapbook paper. So that was nice. I didn't have to use another piece. Look, it fits right on there just perfectly. And I'm just going to do one piece on the back. And I'm just going to trace around that just like I did the other pieces and cut it out with the scissors, of course. All the way around with the pencil. And cut that out. Okay, now I'm going to take that mixture of blended colors, and I think I got it pretty close to the off-white color on that scrapbook paper. And I'm going to put 2 coats because I want the color to be nice and rich. And I'm going to do all the way around the sides and the bottom of that egg, as well as a little bit on the front and on the back. And again, that's just in case the scrapbook paper isn't perfectly fitting. So I'm going to use some Mod Podge. Obviously, I'm using quite a good helping of it there. Yeah, I'm going to have to put a little bit of that on the back. Overestimated there how much I needed. Be sure you get all the way around the edges so that your scrapbook paper is going to adhere very well on there. All the way out to the edges. That way you have no lifting. And then I'm going to wait till that completely dries. And again, I'm going to use my tried and true method with my mini Cricut heat press. I'm going to let that dry fully, as I mentioned. And I always start with my center section when I start doing this. Oops, I'm sorry, that's my dog. So I'm going to go... Sorry about that. It's real life here. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and use my mini Cricut heat press and just follow that area of the center section. And I like to get that on first, all the way out to the edges and across the top and the bottom. Then I'm going to put the top on and the bottom using my parchment paper, as you can see there. And that fit just like a glove. I did pretty good on my estimating there. It came out just perfect. I'm going to do the top and the bottom, and then I'm going to do the back as well. And then, my favorite part, I'm going to start decorating the egg. Now, if you have to trim up the edges, if you have any overhang of that scrapbook paper anywhere on your egg, that's so easy to do. That's why I always urge you to have a very sharp pair of scissors. Look how pretty that is. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I am just loving this one. I love to do something, with an egg every year, as I mentioned, something really pretty and different and elegant and, just fun to kind of step out of the norm that I usually do with polka dots and, gingham checks and all that, florals and everything like that. So, yeah, I really have fun with this kind of thing, so... Okay, so you can see I'm trimming up now with my very sharp scissors. Very nice to have those on hand for something like this. I just put the blade of my scissors right along the edge and snip away any excess, and it looks just beautiful right now. Okay, so now I'm going to take that beautiful gold trim. Now, you can look anywhere for gold trim. Hobby Lobby has plenty of trims. Michael's has trims. Like I said, you could use ribbon if you like that, or any kind of trim that you like. But this happens to be a really beautiful, beautiful gold trim with a beautiful design. And I think it just takes this egg to a really beautiful, kind of elegant level. And I made sure that my trim was straight on my piece. Just putting a scant amount of Aleene's tacky there so it's not oozing through that lacy pattern of that trim. I'm going to let that dry, and then I will trim off the excess on the sides. Okay, so now I'm going to make a small, not a small bow, but a simple bow. Let's put it that way. So this is that satin ribbon. Now it's not wired. I just love a satin ribbon. Oh my gosh, do I love the elegance of an ivory colored satin ribbon. So I'm just going to create 2 loops and pinch it in the center. I want to say my loops are about 4.5 inches each. And I'm going to use a piece of floral wire, 26 gauge again, of course. Wrap that around nice and tight. Now I'm going to put one of those little jeweled pins in the center of this bow, and that's really going to pick up on that gold trim. And I'm going to put this at the top of my egg, not on the top of the egg, but at the top of the front of the egg. Let's put it that way. You'll see what I mean here in a minute. Yeah, I just love, oh, this reminds me so much of, I've done quite a few weddings where I do the bows for the pews of the church. Every time I see an ivory-colored ribbon like this, I think of that. Yeah, that's a lot of bow making, but oh, so much fun. Such a great thing to be able to do that for a wedding. Okay, so I snipped off the back of this little pin. It has a pin on the back so that you could actually put it on your clothing if you wanted to. But I want to snip it off because I want it to lie flush down the center of my bow. So I'm putting hot glue in there and just attaching that. I used, the prettiest one that I thought would go on there. Now I'm just going to take my sharp scissors, trim off that excess of that gold. Beautiful. Oh my goodness, gold trim. Love this. This is so pretty. Now I do want to put something on the sides, but that trim, that would have been too much and it would have been too thick or too wide. So I'm just going to put a little narrow trim that I had picked up at Hobby Lobby at some point in time. And I'm just going to trim that out and put that all around the outer perimeter. And I think that dressed up the edge very nicely. And I glued my bow on right at the top of the egg. And here you have all of the pieces all done. But you know what? I evidently did not include the clip where I put those little pearls on the front. Those are half pearls, and I just created a little design in kind of a diamond shape. I don't know what happened to that clip, but I'm telling you now, that's all I did with Aleene's Tacky, and I just glued them on. Look at that beautiful carrot, my beautiful egg, and my very cute bunny. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And until next time, you all take care.